In the midst of our struggles and losses, there are moments when we ask ourselves, why do these things happen to us? We often ask why bad things happen to good people. Why does God allow so much suffering? Many of us have experienced situations that have shattered our hearts. Sometimes it's the loss of a loved one. Other times it's illness and processes from which we think we'll never get out. Sometimes we feel like we've lost everything, and in those moments it can be difficult to find comfort. However, there is a story in the Bible that shows us that even though the pain is deep, God never abandons us. Today you will hear the story of Job, a man who lost everything, his family, his wealth, his health, but he never lost his faith in God. Job was an upright man, perfect and righteous, fearing God and shunning evil. He lived in a region called Uz, surrounded by blessings. A great family with 7 sons and 3 daughters. Enormous flocks that included 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys. He also had numerous servants, but his greatest wealth wasn't material. Job was an upright and just person, always committed to leading a moral life and maintaining a disciplined relationship with God. Job was considered the wealthiest person in that region. He always kept away from evil and constantly interceded for his family with sacrifices, fearing that in their hearts they might have offended God. His children had the habit of taking turns to hold feasts and banquets in their homes, inviting their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. After each banquet, Job would rise in the morning and offer a burnt sacrifice for each of his children to sanctify them. For Job said, "Perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." This was a regular practice for Job. However, while Job enjoyed this time of prosperity and peace, a heavenly dialogue was unfolding that would completely change his life. In the heavens, before the majestic presence of Jehovah, the sons of God gathered, bringing their praise and worship. But among them was Satan, an enemy who had roamed the vast expanse of the earth, looking for those whose faith he could destroy. Jehovah, knowing the schemes of Satan, turned to him and asked, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered, "From roaming throughout the earth and walking back and forth on it." God presented Job as an example of righteousness before Satan. "Have you considered my servant Job?" he asked. "There is no one on earth like him. He is upright, fears God, and shuns evil." But the adversary, known for questioning human intentions, suggested that Job's faith was superficial and depended on his blessings. "Does Job fear God for nothing?" Satan argued, challenging God to prove Job's integrity. "Haven't you put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands, so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." Jehovah, knowing Job's heart, accepted the challenge, allowing the enemy to touch everything that belonged to him, but with one condition: he could not lay a hand on Job himself. And so began the hardest trial any human could face. One day, while peace reigned in Job's life, his world began to crumble. On that day, while Job's sons and daughters were celebrating at the house of the oldest brother, a messenger arrived with news of calamity. "The Sabeans attacked us, stole your oxen and donkeys, and killed all your servants. I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." Before he had finished speaking, another messenger arrived with more bad news. "Fire fell from heaven and burned up your sheep and the shepherds. It has all been reduced to ashes. I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." Before this servant had finished speaking, another came saying, "The Chaldeans attacked your servants who were tending the camels and killed them all with the sword. They took all the animals. I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another came quickly saying, "Your sons and daughters were celebrating at your oldest son's house when a strong wind struck the house, and it fell on them. They are all dead. I am the only one who has escaped to bring you the news." The world seemed to be falling apart before Job. His heart, broken by the deepest pain, could no longer find comfort. But instead of cursing, instead of giving up, Job rose, tore his robe, shaved his head in mourning. But what he did next was astonishing. He fell to the ground and worshipped his Creator. With a broken voice but full of faith, he said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." And so, in the midst of his suffering, Job did not sin because he did not blame God. In his pain, Job understood an eternal truth, that true faith does not depend on material blessings, but on faithfulness to the Creator, even when the world crumbles around us. Job's suffering seemed unbearable, but the trials for him were not over. One day the sons of God came again before Jehovah, and once again Satan was among them. Jehovah exalted Job's integrity before Satan, saying, "Have you considered my servant Job? He is still upright, fearing God and shunning evil. Although you incited me against him to ruin him without cause, he still maintains his integrity." Satan, in his pride and wickedness, responded cynically, "Does a man give all he has for his life? What does it matter if he loses wealth, property, or family, when the only thing that matters is his health? If you strike his body and make him suffer, you will see how his soul will break, and he will surely curse you." Jehovah allowed Satan to test Job further, but forbade him from taking his life. With God's permission, Satan's hand once again fell upon Job, and the storm of his suffering intensified. Job was afflicted with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. The sores and boils destroyed his body. Job, in his agony, sat in ashes and scraped his infected skin with a piece of pottery. Job's wife, who had shared everything with him, seeing him in this desperate situation, with his soul shattered and his body destroyed, tried to persuade him to curse God and give up his life. Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die. But Job, the man whose faith had been tested beyond imagination, did not give in to despair. With eyes full of pain but with unwavering firmness in his heart, he replied that it was not only the good things that must be received from God, but also the things that seemed adverse. Even in the midst of the most intense suffering, his response was remarkable. He rejected his wife's words of discouragement and remained faithful to the Lord. It is astonishing to see how Job had hit rock bottom, yet he did not curse God. In his deepest pain, he showed the world that true faith does not depend on the blessings one receives, but on unwavering faithfulness to the Creator, even when everything seems lost. In the midst of such suffering, Job did not sin with his lips. In his words, echoed the profound truth that our relationship with God is not based on what he gives or takes away, but on trusting in his sovereignty. Job found the strength to not sin with his lips or attribute any wrong to God. Job accepted that he should not blame God for the circumstances of his life, and as a result, God fully restored him. He returned everything he had lost, gave him a new family with 7 sons and 3 daughters, and increased his wealth, making him even more prosperous than before. God never told Job about his bet with Satan. Job did not need to know what had happened in the heavens. The purpose of his suffering was much deeper than Job could comprehend. If you liked this video, imagine all that we can still discover together. Every story we share is a unique opportunity to explore new mysteries, find motivation, and change the way we see the world. So don't miss out. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new adventure. Your like is very valuable to us as it helps us reach more people with these life-transforming messages. Leave us your comment below with your reflections, and don't forget to share this video with your friends and loved ones so they can also enjoy these impactful stories. We'll continue this journey in search of wisdom and new perspectives. God bless you.